Alright, what is going on YouTube? So, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of, or perhaps even got the chance to try out the new Fatal Fury City of the Wolves beta. I did try it out, because it is an open beta, and yeah, it's not really my cup of tea. It kind of sucks that there's no training mode option, because like, yeah, I get it, you want people to just fight each other and you're trying to test the connection of that and how everything kind of functions on that end, whereas training mode is a lot harder to mess up, so you wouldn't necessarily need to test that in a beta. But still, I feel like fighting games are kind of at a point where, you know, they're not casual enough to just kind of hop online, press random buttons and have fun. You know, I think especially a game like Fatal Fury or an SNK game like King of Fighters, I feel like you kind of need to lab a little bit to get the hang of what your character does, right? And I feel like when it comes to fighting games, the balance of like what's fun and flashy and entertaining, I think comes down to doing cool combos, right? And I think that's why a lot of newer fighting games implement this auto combo or simple combo kind of function in some sort. With like Tekken 8, you have the simple style or whatever to where you can do certain combos very easily, right? And same with Street Fighter, you have like modern controls and even more simpler dynamic controls, right? In this game, or in this beta, I should say, I think they give that option. I'm not really sure, but you know, that's usually for if you're not willing to kind of put the time in to learn the game. The problem is, you know, I'm not a newcomer to fighting games. It's just I want to kind of put the time in, get the hang of things, see what my characters can do before I hop online. And with no training mode, you just can't really do that. And yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't really for me. The movement and the timing of everything just felt a little off. And I guess you could say that for most fighting games, right? Like when you first get into a fighting game, you know, the timing to like punish stuff and the timing to whiff punish, the timing to tech throws, everything's just gonna feel off if you're used to other fighting games. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't for me. And I think training mode would have definitely helped a lot, but there was none. So it wasn't the best beta in my opinion. However, that's not really the point of this video. What I actually wanted to talk about with the new Fatal Fury was the visuals. I think these visuals are very, very, very good. And they kind of remind me of a franchise that I'm sure you guys know of, and that would be Marvel vs. Capcom. When I first saw how this game looks, I was like, whoa, this to me is how Marvel vs. Capcom should look. It kind of feels like a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 art style with the cell shading, but it's like more polished. You got more textures going on, you got more color, you got more vibrance, you got more, it's just like updated, you know? It feels like an updated comic book pop arty like art style, and I love that. I feel like this would be perfect for Marvel vs. Capcom 4 if they ever make it, which people have been saying could be in the works due to the fact that we did get that Marvel vs. Capcom collection recently and it didn't do too bad sale wise. And you know, I mean, we all know how important MVC is to the FGC. Does Capcom know? Maybe with that collection it seems like maybe they got the hint, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, if they ever were to make a Marvel vs. Capcom 4, which I would love, I think that would be insane and amazing, and they definitely should do that. And especially with the recent explosion of popularity from Marvel Rivals, bro, a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 would go crazy right now. But yeah, if they do decide to make it, hopefully they don't make the same mistake that they did with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Well, there was a lot of mistakes made with that game, the roster being one of them, but the visuals of that game was like, I think the other huge mistake that brought the game down tremendously. So yeah, hopefully they don't make the game look ugly as hell like MVCI and, you know, actually make it look polished. And I think if they need some type of art direction to go with, hey, look no further. Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is that direction, bro. That is, to me, the perfect visual aesthetic that Marvel vs. Capcom 4 needs to have. It looks great. It looks perfect. It's the visual embodiment of how I feel Marvel vs. Capcom should be in a 3D game. If we're talking 2D, then, you know, of course, the classic sprites from back in the day were perfect. But 3D, I feel like this is perfect. Exactly how I imagine Marvel vs. Capcom games to look. So hopefully, if we do get a Marvel vs. Capcom 4, it will look something like this. Because this is how I would want it personally to look. I did see that Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Beyond mod, that Maximilian hired some people to help him make that and kind of soft revive MVCI in a way. But to me, I'm not gonna lie, you know, while I can give credit where credit is due, and you know, I'm not trying to like take shots or be disdainful of the hard work and effort that was put into, you know, try and revive that game, but to me, it still just doesn't look great. You know, it still just kind of looks like a fan mod over a game that's kind of ugly. You know, they tried, and I respect that. I appreciate that. I really do, but it still doesn't look great in my opinion. I still think, unironically, MVC3 looks better. And it's weird because for the longest time, I used to think MVCI did look better than MVC3, like initially, because in my mind, I'm like, well, you know, I see the textures that MVCI has, and I'm like, well, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 doesn't have those textures. Why are people saying that it looks worse than Marvel vs. Capcom 3? Like, Morgan has way more textures on her than she did in 3, you know? Same with Hulk, like, and I was so confused. I'm like, why are people saying MVCI is ugly? Like, it has all these textures, it has way more definition to the models. And yes, that is true, but it didn't really hit me until I started looking at like the art style, right? And like the lighting, the visuals for like when it's in motion and like during the cutscenes for the story mode. Dante looking kind of like some nightmare fuel, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I guess I was just like so focused on the textures and how, you know, there was a lot more textures in MVCI than there was in 3. So I was like, oh, well, how are people saying MVCI looks worse than 3? But yeah, when you think about it and, you know, kind of how you can make any art direction look any type of way, right? Yeah, it eventually it did hit me. Like, yeah, no, they when I think of like how Marvel vs. Capcom 3 looks, like 3 definitely has more color to it. And I liked kind of what they try to do with MVCI, but I feel like the UI definitely awful. Definitely does look very mobile game-esque. The stages were kind of cool because they were new and they were like a fusion of like Marvel and Capcom stages, which I thought was really interesting and really cool. But again, they also kind of lacked some color, some vibrance, you know, and yeah, like the training room, you know, it's not the danger room like from the old game. Like, you know, it took me a while to kind of realize it on the surface, but I eventually realized, yeah, the art style, the lighting, you know, just this, everything about it, the aesthetic just sucks. And I eventually kind of came to realization that, yeah, MVCI does look kind of ugly. Even though it does have more textures, it does look ugly as hell. But yeah, so now I kind of see why people say 3 looks better, and I agree, I do think 3 looks better, and I would even say 3 looks better than MVCI Beyond, in my opinion. But that's why I think if they make a Marvel vs. Capcom 4, you know, I think Fatal Fury City of the Wolves is the perfect visual art style direction. It's everything. Everything they need is in this Fatal Fury beta, bro. Like they absolutely cooked. They need to hit up SNK for the code, for the graphics, whatever they need to get it from SNK, bro, because this is it. This is how Marvel vs. Capcom should look, in my opinion. So, but that's just me. What about you guys? What do you guys think? Do you guys feel that Marvel vs. Capcom should look a little bit different? Is there a different video game art style you think would be better for a Marvel vs. Capcom 4? Let me know in the comments below. Please leave a like on the video, and while you're at it, you might as well subscribe. Over here we talk about fighting games all the time on this channel. But yeah, as always, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully I will catch y'all in the next one.